comes to the racial wealth gap in the United States of America, is education playing a negative role against black people compared to white people? Well, in this video, part 2 of our 3-part series on closing the black racial wealth gap, we will discuss how education is one of the most significant factors contributing to the racial wealth gap by highlighting the disparities in access to quality education and the resulting differences in educational outcomes. Understanding the link between the black racial wealth gap and the education is crucial if we want to address the economic inequalities that continue to affect millions of black Americans today. There you have it. Let's fasten our seatbelts, let's dive in, and let's get to work. Hello, AfriKili family and Global Pack Nation. I am very thankful that so many of you are sending messages expressing your appreciation for our content. So I wanted to take the time to acknowledge every one of you that support us and every one of you that decide and choose to spend time with us whenever we're able to post a new video. So thank you very much. But I also wanted to ask you a very simple and small favor. So if you appreciate this channel, and if you've ever liked any of our videos, the very simple and free favor I'm asking of you is to hit the subscribe button. Now that being said, as you're about to watch, I hope you'll enjoy this latest AfriKili video where we build bridges in the global pack, the global Pan-African community. Thank you very much. The racial wealth gap did not emerge overnight. It is the product of centuries of systematic racism and discriminatory policies. The legacy of slavery, the Jim Crow laws, redlining, and segregation has left black Americans with fewer opportunities to accumulate wealth compared to their white counterparts. Education, which is often seen as a pathway to economic mobility, has also been historically denied or limited for black Americans. For example, during the era of slavery, black people were prohibited from learning to read or write. And after the Civil War, during the Reconstruction era, some progress was made in establishing schools for black children, but these efforts were met with violent resistance and underfunding. The Plessy versus Ferguson decision of 1896, for example, which established the doctrine of separate but equal, created more educational disparities by allowing the existence of segregated schools, which were anything but equal. Schools that were educating black students were consistently underfunded and lacked the resources necessary to provide a quality education. And as a result, the legacy of these systematic injustices continue to impact black families today, creating a cycle of poverty that is difficult to break. In our present society, education is one of the most important factors that influence an individual's ability to build wealth. Higher levels of education are generally associated with a higher earning potential, better job opportunities, and increased financial stability. Unfortunately, there are several educational disparities between black and white Americans that are creating significant barriers in accessing quality education and are contributing to the racial wealth gap. I would like to highlight 4 of these disparities, which are 1. Access to quality education. 2. College enrollment and graduation rate. 3. The student loan debt. And 4. Employment discrimination. Now let's briefly discuss these 4 disparities. 1. Access to quality education. You see, the quality of education available to black students is often lower than that available to white students. Black students are more likely to attend underfunded schools with fewer resources, larger class sizes, less experienced teachers, and limited access to advanced coursework. Furthermore, the disparity in the quality of education impacts academic performance while also limiting opportunities for higher education and well-paying jobs. Ultimately, the disparity in educational access and outcomes is a significant factor in the racial wealth gap. 2. The college enrollment and graduation rates. Now, even when black students attend college, they face several barriers that can impact their ability to graduate. Things like financial constraints, the lack of social support, and racial discrimination on college campuses can lead to lower graduation rates. Now, according to the National Center for Education Statistics, the 6-year graduation rate for black students is only about 40% compared to 64% for white students. This disparity in higher education attainment directly affects earning potential and wealth accumulation. 3. Student loan debt. See, the cost of higher education is another critical factor because for many Black students, the dream of obtaining a college degree comes with the burden of student loan debt. Black students are more likely to take on significant student loan to finance their education, which leads to higher levels of debt upon graduation compared to their white peers. This debt burden can delay wealth accumulation as graduates must prioritize loan repayment over saving for a home or investing in other wealth-building opportunities. For example, it is estimated that over 60% of African American wealth goes towards servicing student loans. This means that 60% of the wealth that could be used to reduce the racial economic inequalities is tied to servicing student loans. The implications are significant because most of the African American wealth is used to pay off student debt instead of being used to generate more wealth by investing or creating businesses. Considering that students often graduate from American universities with upward of $100,000 in student loans, it can take decades for individuals to pay off the debt. 4. Employment discrimination. Even upon successfully completing their college education and obtaining a college degree, Black Americans often face discrimination in the job market. Studies have shown that resumes with traditionally Black-sounding names receive fewer callbacks than those with white-sounding names, even when the qualifications are identical. This discrimination can lead to lower wages and fewer opportunities for career advancement, making it more difficult for Black individuals to accumulate wealth. This is evident considering that Black households headed by someone with a college degree have less wealth than white households led by someone with only a high school diploma. Now, the link between the racial wealth gap and education can be a vicious cycle. Black families with lower wealth are less capable to afford quality education for their children, which in turn limits their children's ability to achieve financial stability and build wealth as adults. The educational disparities also mean that Black Americans with lower levels of education are more likely to be employed in low-wage jobs with limited opportunities for advancement and limited abilities to save or invest. Considering that education is a key determinant of income, and income is a primary driver of wealth accumulation, the cycle of educational disparities has profound negative economic impact against Black people. Not only does it contribute to the current overall wealth gap, but it could perpetuate the racial wealth gap across generations if left unchecked. Now, addressing the link between education and the racial wealth gap is essential and will require comprehensive policy changes, specifically targeting educational disparities. This includes increasing funding for schools in predominantly Black communities and underserved communities, expanding access to higher education through scholarships and grants, and implementing policies that reduce the burden of student debt. Additionally, addressing the broader systemic issues such as housing discrimination and employment disparities is crucial for creating a more equitable society. Now, any solution for eliminating educational disparities at the collegiate level and for helping narrow the racial wealth gap should place a particular focus on HBCUs, which are historically Black colleges and universities that are not only well positioned within the African American communities, but were established to specifically address the educational disparities at a time when Black people were prevented from attending colleges and universities in the United States. Since the 1960s, HBCUs have been essential in creating the African American middle class and have educated several prominent public figures. For example, the civil rights leader Martin Luther King Jr. attended Morehouse College in Atlanta, Georgia, which is an HBCU, and the United States Vice President and current nominee of the Democratic Party to become the 48th President of the United States of America, Ms. Kamala Harris, attended Howard University in Washington, D.C., also an HBCU. Now, without a doubt, over the years, HBCUs have played a critical role in providing education and economic mobility opportunities to African Americans. For example, according to the 2019 report by the McKinsey Institute for Black Economic Mobility, the BEM, and the McKinsey Global Institute, which is the MGI, there are three interesting facts. Like one, HBCU enroll about 10% of all Black students in colleges. Two, HBCUs deliver 17% of all bachelor degrees earned by Black students. And 24% of all STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and math, bachelor's degrees earned by Black students in the United States of America were delivered by HBCUs. Not only that, additionally, HBCUs graduates are 51% more likely to move into a higher income bracket than their non-HBCU peers. So in the United States society, where obtaining a college education dramatically increases the chance of economic mobility and earning a middle-class income, the wealth gap and economic inequalities that currently exist between African Americans and white Americans would have been much wider had it not been for the existence of HBCUs. Consequently, even though they currently represent only about 3% of all U.S. colleges, HBCU remain essential for training professionals within the Black communities and for addressing educational disparities at the collegiate level for the overall African American community. As we have discussed in this video, the Black racial wealth gap in the United States of America is a multifaceted issue with roots in historical injustices and ongoing systemic inequalities. Additionally, the link between the Black racial wealth gap and education is clear, considering that education disparities, both in terms of access and quality, play a significant role in perpetuating the wealth gap. Consequently, by addressing these disparities and implementing policies that promote educational equity, we can make meaningful steps towards closing the Black racial wealth gap and creating a more just and inclusive society for all. I will close with a quote from James Baldwin, the influential American writer, orator, and civil rights activist who was famous for his essays, his novels, his plays, and poems during the civil rights movements in the United States. His quote says, "Not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced." AfriKili family, global pack nation. Even though we will not solve all issues impacting the global Pan-African communities, we can become powerful agents of change by uniting and collaborating. Let us associate and build bridges in order to create powerful coalitions that will span continents and generations. Until next time, peace be with you. AfriKili, African intelligence to build bridges in the global Pan-African community. Asante sana, let's get to work.